We have in this session Dieter Kwartier. He gave this morning a breakout presentation about trends in electrification and connectivity. He is working for Fleet Europe since many years and is our automotive and technology specialist. We have our new expert in connectivity telematics, Sahant Malek, which also joined us in the session before. So he knows everything about connectivity and telematics. And then finally, we have Yves Helven. He is our APAC specialist, but also a specialist in smart and intelligent corporate mobility. So if you have questions linked to connectivity, telematics, and the way that it can be an obstacle or an opportunity for your fleet management, please ask the question in the chat function, and we will moderate the interesting questions with our panel of experts. And we will also go through some poll questions that we launched to see in what way the results are surprising, yes or no. Okay. So, here we go. I'm going through the poll questions. Yes, the first one is for Dieter Kwartier. Dieter, one of the biggest barriers, concerns regarding fleet electrification for when it comes to vans, LCVs, is the high purchasing price. Yes. Next to that, it's also the charging infrastructure. Okay. How do you see that evolve? Do you see more and more ELCVs coming onto the market? Will the price also there get a reasonable drop? And will there also be more opportunities for LCVs to charge quickly?
Mm-hmm. Well, indeed, in this morning's presentation, I showed an overview of the models that are being launched this year and the coming years. And indeed, you see that there's still quite a few gaps in the different market segments in terms of product, but these will surely be filled in the coming years. Talking about the product pricing, I think that today the issue with the ELCV is indeed that the price supplement that you pay over the classic diesel version is considerable. There are basically no or hardly any incentives for ELCV, contrary to passenger cars. So there's no real incentive to adopt EVs or ELCVs today in most European markets. That being said, I'm quite sure that prices will come down as we see a scaling up of production. You see also that many OEMs are starting to work together on several LCV products. For instance, Ford has announced that it will be building the new Transit Custom together with Volkswagen in Turkey. So the next transporter will share the same technology as the Ford Transit Custom. And that means that we get a larger scale, and then combine that with a lower battery cell cost. I'm sure that prices will come down. That's the first part, I think, of the question. The second is, of course, the charging capabilities. Well, here as well, there's a cost to let's say capability. The faster you charge or want to charge with your ELCV, well, the more expensive the technology gets. So it's quite easy to provide the same charging possibilities in an ELCV as the ones that you have in passenger cars. You can provide systems that can take 350 kilowatts from an Ionity charger, but that of course comes at a high cost. And especially in the LCV segment, well, cost is king, right? So you have to make a balance between advantage versus investment in terms of technology. So everything is possible in terms of technology, but it comes at a cost. It comes at a price.
Yves Helven?
Yeah, just underwriting what Dieter is saying, 100% agreed. The other way out, if we can call it like that, is to find the right financing model for your LCVs. because of course they're more expensive. But you don't have to take them in an operational lease, right? The same thing with with transformed vans or vans with specific equipment. These vans are required to drive for a longer term than just 4 years. So here as well, finance lease, open-end lease, financial renting might be the best way also to accommodate for that higher initial investment.
Okay, perhaps linking it to your answer there, what we're also seeing is that when we ask about from who do you expect telematics and connected solutions, then the majority, it's a minor majority, but the majority expected from the leasing company, followed by the car manufacturer. Is that a surprise, Yves Helven?
It's not a surprise because it's the way people think. When you have a problem, you start to think about a solution. And if you don't have an obvious solution in front of you, you rely on what you know. So that's basic, intellectual mechanics. The better answer, I think, would be to include these providers not exclusively as a main provider of connectivity or telematics, but as part of a larger ecosystem. And that then prompts the next question, what is that, that umbrella layer that we're today missing? That one layer that is capable of capturing data coming from different providers and translating that into something that can be used by the customer. So, for right now, recommendation is, look at your leasing companies, look at your OEMs, but look at the entire supply chain. And then, the chicken with the golden egg is going to be that, that one big, well-funded supplier that can act as the umbrella company for all this data coming in.
Okay. Good. Sahant Malek, we also asked to the audience, have you implemented telematics for your fleet? Now, the majority is saying no, we have not, and we are not planning to implement telematics, followed by yes, we have, and this is between 0 to 10% of our fleet that has now telematics. Is that surprising for you that still today there is quite a large, it's not a large number, but that if we look at the answers that we get, that the majority is saying, well, we don't use telematics and we are not planning to use it?
So, Stephen, the way I read this is actually, it's a good thing. Of course, it's surprising that the number is low, but it corresponds to what we see in the overall market. Because, of course, for example, if you look at UK, there is very advanced, at least 4 or 5, up to 6 companies out of 10 are actually using telematics. So if you take the average, maybe you can expect not all the companies actually using telematics right now. But the good thing about this answer is they are here. They are on connected fleet. So it means there is an interest for them to actually take on telematics and connectivity. And I think each company look at this from different angles. Some might adopt telematics purely from operational perspective. Some doing that because of security reasons. And some might only become interested on this because of the electrification and the fact that they want to also use an electric car, and having connectivity for electric car means they can operate their cars better. So there are many reasons to adopt to telematics and have that system. So it's good that we have many newcomers that are interested in this because the track record of telematics is proven to whoever used it before. If you look at postal company, delivery company, they cannot go back and operate based on calendar and a spreadsheet and WhatsApp group to manage their car. So perhaps there is good news here.
Okay. Then I would like to ask again to Yves, there is also a question regarding the possible obstacles for introducing telematics. I would like to start with you, Yves, and then Dieter can perhaps add some comment. We still see that the main obstacle is linked to work council skepticism, or that it's not possible, etc. And then also user driver reluctance. I'm not going to ask if this is logic, because we know that, of course, but what can companies do to overcome that?
Well, telematics has a very bad reputation. Let's start with that one. I'm talking not amongst us fleet people, but amongst employees and works councils, right? The bad reputation is because there's a bit of a big brother aspect to it, right? So taking one step back and also coming back to the previous question, first thing you need to figure out as a company is, do you need geolocation? Do you need pure telematics, or do you just need to get data from your car? Utilization data, charging data, and so on. Then we're talking connectivity versus telematics, right? To give it the thing a name. Typically, I find connectivity easier to sell simply because it's on the roadmap of all the OEMs. It's going to come anyway, right? And you can explain that pretty easily to works councils. Dealing with employee data is inevitable, right? So rather think of it right now and then implement connectivity as the easier next step. If you move into telematics, then you'll need to, it's a bit like Google, right? We've got lots of advantages using Google, right? It knows our profile, it knows what we're looking for, but in exchange, we give away some of our privacy. So that same principle is something you need to apply with telematics as well. It's a give and take thing. So they're giving away part of their privacy, then the geolocation being the main topic, but in exchange, they can receive, better safety features, contribute to sustainability. If you're a smart company with telematics, you use gamification to check and improve the behavior of your employees. So it's the dressing up that is really important. So give it a good image and show benefit to your employees. I think at the end of the day, that's a good start.
Okay. Dieter, do you want to add something?
Well, I think that Yves has really nailed it in terms of what needs to be done and what needs to change in terms of perception. I think it's indeed that it's a matter of it's an issue of perception, and of course, you have to make a difference between the perk fleet and let's say the productivity fleet. I don't know if a perk fleet would become, let's say, connected in the next few years or maybe later, because it's a private car. But in terms of fleets or company cars that are being used strictly for business purposes and then maybe to commute, then of course the cards are laid out a bit differently. So I think that it's a matter of perception and educating and making good agreements now before implementing.
Okay. Sahand, we had just a discussion with EVBox and ChargePoint in terms of EV infrastructure. What is your recommendation to commercial fleets and LCV fleets that would like to maximize the e-fleet, so the electric vehicles in their fleet, but that have questions about the charging infrastructure? What can you recommend to them?
I think to some extent it's very similar if you want to adopt a telematics product. So whether, depending on your operation and how you use those vehicles, you can actually make a transition to electric vehicles if some of the issues like range anxiety or cross-country trips are not your priority, because many of the modern vehicles, electric vehicles, have a good range to cover a day of work, and they also have good price point if you just want to use it as a company car. I think the question starts when you have to do deliveries. You need to charge 100 of them, and you need to invest on charging infrastructure. I think it is clear that Europe is not ready yet. If you look at from infrastructure point of view, a fully integrated charging points. I mean, we've seen a map in that presentation. However, companies like EVBug, ChargerPoint, and others are here to actually facilitate that from the side that actually matters to companies, which is, okay, I need to have ChargerPoint at my office, and I can collaborate with my few neighboring business to use and utilize that charging point together. I think that is very good a starting point for companies who might want to actually make a complete transition.
Okay. Final question is for Yves Helven. Yves, you are a corporate mobility expert. We are talking here about fleets, LCV fleets. Now, we also see that everything that has to do around micro mobility, two-wheel mobility, is gaining popularity and can also be an interesting solution when it comes to last mile efficiency. In what way do you see the correlation between connectivity and intelligent urban mobility?
That's how much time do you have, Stephen?
1 minute.
There's an obvious link, because micromobility is connected, right? That it starts with that. It's an on-demand solution. You have the app. There's a little box in every asset that connects with your app. It controls how long you use it for, and it charges you for that usage, right? That's where it starts. And when you take one step back, it's because of the business model of micromobility that connectivity is part of micromobility. If we would all drive standalone bikes without a connected device, no one would make money out of it. It's a very long story, but this is the short answer. There is a link between it because it's essentially part of the business model.
Okay. We are going to deep dive further into everything that is related to corporate mobility on the Corporate Mobility Conference on the 10th of June. Yves, that's correct?
Yep, yes.
And then we'll meet again, of course. And if you have further questions for Yves Helven, Dieter Kwartier, or Sahand Malek, you can contact them via this tool and they will be happy to answer your questions. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.